What if the greatest civilization of the Aegean was suddenly wiped out by a single catastrophic event, only to set the stage for a foreign invasion that would change history forever? Last episode, we witnessed the agonizing collapse of Egypt's old kingdom under the weight of weak kings and regional drought, setting the stage for the chaotic First Intermediate Period. We also traveled east to meet the enigmatic Indus Valley civilization, the civilization without kings, and charted the mythical beginnings of China's Xia dynasty under Yu the Great. Today, we return to the heart of ancient power, the Aegean and the Near East, where resilience is tested by fire, water, and chariots. For centuries, Minoan Crete seemed immune to the turmoil, a jewel of the sea, growing stronger, wealthier, and more artistic with every passing generation. But what happens when nature itself decides to intervene? We will witness the massive eruption of the Thera volcano that buried the Minoan city of Akrotiri, triggered a catastrophic tsunami, and potentially inspired the Legend of Atlantis. Then, we will watch as a weakened Crete falls victim to the Mycenaean warlords. Meanwhile, in Mesopotamia, a cunning king rises from obscurity. Hammurabi of Babylon. We'll track his brilliant military and political maneuvers, from defeating powerful neighbors like Larsa and Mari, to establishing the old Babylonian Empire and compiling his legendary code of laws. But even Hammurabi's stable reign was not meant to last. We'll examine the shocking, lightning-fast attack by the Hittites in their swift battle chariots that brought Babylon to its knees. Finally, back in the Nile Valley, the Middle Kingdom brought peace and prosperity under rulers like Mentuhotep II and the great Senusret III. Yet, history repeats itself. Internal weakness and a new, terrifying enemy, the Hyksos, armed with chariots, bronze swords, and composite bows, would conquer Egypt, plunging it into the Second Intermediate Period and forever changing the face of Egyptian warfare. Ready to see how the world's most enduring empires learned, collapsed, and evolved in the face of unstoppable force? The ancient world begins now. In our previous discussions, leading up to the 2nd millennium BC, we observed civilizations like the Norte Chico and the Harappans rise to incredible heights, only to crumble almost entirely. Other regions, such as Egypt and the Near East, experienced lengthy periods of cultural advancement, punctuated by times of extreme upheaval and change. Yet, one civilization, Minoan Crete, appeared to be on a relatively continuous path to greatness. Why does that sound like tempting fate? Crete in the 2nd millennium BC was still getting stronger. They were wealthy seafaring traders, producing artwork of incredible beauty. The initial warning signs for Minoan civilization didn't appear until around 1700 BC. At that time, Crete experienced a major disruption. While the exact cause remains unknown, possibilities include an earthquake related to a volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, an invasion from Anatolia, or even some form of internal conflict. Archaeological evidence reveals that the Minoan palaces at Knossos, Hyksos, Malea, and Zakros were all destroyed. Although this disaster, whatever its origin, certainly shook the Minoans, they seemed to recover even stronger, entering an even more opulent period of palace construction and reconstruction known as the Neopalatial, or New Palace period. The Palace of Knossos, in particular, underwent a massive expansion, sprawling over 5 acres and containing 1,500 rooms. The Minoan population also increased during this era, and numerous new settlements were established throughout Crete. Additionally, the Minoan colony of Akrotiri on the island of Thera was essentially rebuilt from scratch and adorned with vibrant frescoes, including the renowned boxing twins, considered among the most exquisite works the Minoans ever produced. The Neopalatial period also witnessed the growth of Minoan expertise in the relatively new craft of sword making. The introduction of bronze centuries earlier had, for the first time, allowed Minoan metalworkers to create items capable of holding a sharp, cutting edge. In earlier times, flint or obsidian were the only materials suitable for crafting tools and weapons with sharp edges, including short daggers. However, stone was fragile and unsuitable for longer weapons. With the advent of bronze, daggers could be made longer without becoming brittle, and they would bend rather than break during combat. To prevent excessive bending, blades were shaped to maximize the material's strength while maintaining balance and cutting, thrusting capabilities. This led to the development of early sword designs, such as the leaf-bladed sword, featuring a thick, narrow blade near the hilt and a broad, thin blade near the tip. The cutting edge was frequently hardened by hammering to enhance its strength. These early bronze swords measured 2 to 3 feet in length, the maximum length achievable at the time. Soon after these swords first appeared around the Black and Aegean Seas in the 17th century BC, Minoan craftsmen began producing items of exceptional quality and quickly became renowned as the finest bronze sword makers in the Aegean region. The Minoans likely used these swords for ceremonial or decorative purposes, but they also represented the early stages in the evolution of an edged weapon that would become central to the European warrior's arsenal for millennia to come. The Neopalatial period, spanning from 1700 to 1600 BC, is regarded as the Minoan golden age of art, architecture, and influence. And then, as the saying goes, tragedy struck. In 1600 BC, the massive volcano on the nearby island of Thera erupted. The eruption ranked among the largest in the history of civilization, ejecting approximately 60 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere. The eruption completely devastated the island of Thera, including the Minoan colony of Akrotiri, which was completely entombed in a layer of pumice, essentially becoming a Minoan Pompeii. One significant difference between the two buried sites is that, at Akrotiri, the Minoans apparently had enough warning to flee to their ships before the disaster struck. Consequently, the ruins at Akrotiri do not contain as many human remains as were found at Pompeii. The eruption had a profoundly debilitating impact on Minoan culture in Crete. Early theories suggested that ashfall from the eruption smothered plant life on the eastern half of Crete, leading to widespread starvation. However, recent examinations have revealed that no more than 1/4 of an inch of ash fell anywhere on the island. Instead, newer studies point to a massive tsunami generated by the Theran eruption that ravaged the coastal areas of Crete and destroyed numerous Minoan settlements. This devastation also caused a major disruption of Minoan trade and distribution networks, striking at the very heart of their culture and economy. Evidence suggests a decline in Minoan material wealth in the period following the eruption, as well as a decline in the importance of Knossos as a regional power center, both of which support the notion of a physical and cultural disaster of epic proportions. It has also been proposed that the eruption and its impact on Minoan culture served as the inspiration for the Atlantis myth, as recounted in Egyptian and later Greek accounts, which told of an ancient, advanced civilization that was violently destroyed by a massive natural disaster and sank beneath the waves. At the very least, these accounts provide some insight into the scale of the disaster as perceived by later generations. So, you might be thinking, hey, the Minoans are resilient. Maybe they can bounce back from this, right? Well, perhaps they could have. But unfortunately, they never really got the chance to try. While the Theran eruption didn't cause the immediate downfall of the Minoans, it did help set the stage for a second, more devastating blow. In 1450 BC, Mycenaeans, invaders from the Greek mainland, attacked a weakened and vulnerable Crete. Archaeological evidence indicates that many Cretan sites were destroyed by fire around this time. While the palace at Knossos appears to have been spared such destruction, Since natural disasters typically don't discriminate, it's likely that this widespread destruction was the work of these warlike invaders, who probably recognized the usefulness of a ready-made palace complex like Knossos. Indeed, the Mycenaeans ended up occupying numerous Minoan palace sites and adapting them for their own purposes. While the Mycenaeans would come to appreciate and pass on many aspects of Minoan culture through their own civilization, their conquest of Crete effectively marked the end of the Minoan civilization, with all its unique vibrancy and remarkable characteristics. We're incredibly fortunate that so much of their amazing artwork has survived to this day, allowing us to better understand the rich Aegean world in which the Minoans thrived.